Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Zenatan, and welcome to today's video for Legends of Runeterra. Today, what are we going to be doing? Today we are going to be going through every single card from the latest expansion for Legends of Runeterra, Forces from Beyond. We're going to be going through every single card, and we're going to be rating these cards on a 5-star system. 0 being the worst, 5 being the best. We're going to be rating these on specifically power level and how good they are in constructed. So, fun not really being taken into consideration. So a card could be boring, but really powerful, or a card could be bad, but really fun. So, if you've never seen these videos before, quick run through. 0 stars is pretty much just meme level garbage. 1 is kind of like a card that has a little bit of potential. Maybe it's for an archetype that's just bad. 2 is like where a lot of cards are. 2 and 3 are like extremely niche cards or kind of like filler cards. 3 is like just a little bit better. Fills out a role in a deck or two, and it does its job really well, but it doesn't do anything too special. 4 is basically just a 5-star card that has something keeping it from being that 5-star card. And 5 stars are those, deck creating, deck defining, meta defining, powerful cards that are potentially nerf worthy. Before we get into the cards, though, we will just go through these cards in alphabetical order, starting with Runeterran champions, and then go through by region in alphabetical order. I will say this is just my personal opinion. We aren't using any stats or anything, because it's kind of hard to use stats, especially really early on into a set. So I am gonna probably be wrong on a couple of cards, but of course, who isn't when evaluating cards? So, not that many cards this set. I believe there's only like 50 something, maybe even less. So probably not gonna be too long of a video, which is kind of nice. These videos do get a little long and drag on, but again, just my personal opinion, personal ratings, and let's go and start some ratings. So first up, we have our first Runeterran champ and our only Runeterran champ for this set. We have Evelynn. I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think she's that good, but I do think she's a little underexplored at the moment. Evelynn is a 4-mana 0/5 with Origin, Agony's Embrace. When I'm summoned, summon a random husk. Agony's Embrace has no passive effect, and it just says you may put any card that summon husks into your deck during deck building. To level up Evelynn, you or an ally has to kill an allied husk. Evelynn will get its keywords as well for that turn. Leveled up Evelynn is a 4-mana 5/5 that says when you kill an allied husk, get its positive keywords. And summon a random husk at the end of the round. And if fewer than 6 allies have died this game, she transforms back into her level 1 form. So she has a little bit of a transforming thing, kind of like Gnar does. Her champion spell is Last Caress, 4-mana fast spell that says stop all enemy spells and skills targeting Evelynn, and she strikes an enemy. Okay, that's pretty powerful. What's the problem with Evelynn? Why are we not seeing Evelynn too much? Couple of reasons. 1, she's a Runeterran champion. Runeterran champions at the moment are a little bit of a deck building constraint. You're pretty much just playing not a pure mono region deck, but the other region that you're putting in with your Runeterran champ has to be, in my opinion, really strong, because you don't really want to play every single card that the Origin lets you. Like for example, Bard. A lot of Bard decks are pretty much just 3 bards, 3 birds, maybe 3 Esmus, and that's it. Sometimes you see like Meduli, but that's really rare. And Evelynn, the cards that put in husks, honestly are, well, not bad. They're not strong, if that makes sense. They're very okay at best, and you want better than okay when you're deck building. Also, unlike something like Bard or Jhin, her Origin doesn't do something extra. Bard, he gets the 3 chimes return. Jhin gets the ping plus the stun as well if he's beheld. Also, Evelynn and Evelynn followers, there's a big aspect of RNG. Sometimes you roll an impact husk, sometimes you roll the elusive husk. And that's insanely game changing depending on if you roll like a good husk like impact, or sorry, not impact, impact's bad. Elusive, overwhelm, maybe regen, etc., etc. Her champion spell is good though. She does have a very powerful champion spell. So that's kind of a draw to playing Evelynn. But yeah, it's just in my opinion, she seems a little too RNG based, and her followers just don't feel good enough. The origin, it's not a big enough draw to just be a Runeterran champion plus another region. And I like to put it this way, she just feels fair but strong, and I don't think right now in the game you should try to be fair but strong. I think fair but strong is not a good way to play the game. She has some unfair things she does, which is, you know, rolling an elusive husk, but that's not consistent. And, you know, card games, you want consistency for your plans. So with that all said, I feel like I'm just going to give Evelynn a solid 3 stars. She is okay. There's some good stuff going on here, but I think she just needs a little more support, like with 1 or 2 cards that make more husks, and those husks are strong. Or maybe even a small buff too, like maybe she has some passive alongside her origin as well. I don't know what it would be, but something. Anyway, our only Runeterran champion, Evelynn, she's fine. Solid middle ground card. Let's head to Bandal City. So first off in Bandal City, we have Drop the Bomb. Drop the Bomb is a 2-mana slow spell. Deal 2 to a unit, summon a Scrappy Bomb. Scrappy Bomb is the countdown 3 landmark that deals 1 when it explodes, 1 to the nexus, enemy nexus. It's a solid, fine card. It's okay in landmark-based decks, so Zeratzillion, Ziggs, Talia. Outside of landmark-based decks, you wouldn't play this, so it's pretty much just landmark support, and it is okay for those decks. You already had Pokestick in those decks, so it's fine. You also have Rite of the Arcane as your other removal suite. So between Rite of the Arcane and Pokestick, it's not really that useful. It's nice for things like Xerath, though, Zeratzillion, because it does help level up Xerath faster. It helps your arsenal get more keywords faster, too, which is nice. But it's just okay. It's not really a card I go crazy about, or I think it's crazy strong. I think it is just solid in its deck. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. It's just fine. Strong-ish, but not like overpowered, and it's only really good in 1 to 2 decks. Now this card though, Sneezy Bigeldust, I might be overrating this. I might be underrating this according to some people. Sneezy Bigeldust is a 4-mana focus speed spell. Give allies +1/+1 this round. If they're created, give them +2/+2 instead. So right away we can draw similarities to Yordles in Arms. Yordles in Arms is a 5-mana, give your allies +2/+2, or if you have 4 or more allies, +3/+3. I believe that's what it is. Or wait, maybe it's if you summon from 4 different regions. I think that's actually it. It's not if you have 4 more allies. If you've summoned allies from 4 or more regions. That's it. It's been a while since I've seen that card, in all honesty. It used to be they got +4/+4, and then it got nerfed. Is this card better than Yordles in Arms? At the moment, current Yordles in Arms, yes. Is it better than the old one? No, I'd say, because +4/+4 to your board is insanely big. However, the reason why I think this card is really strong is that focus speed. Against Yordles in Arms, you were like, okay, it's a slow speed spell. I can respond by either like countering it, removing a couple of cards in response with removal like Mystic Shots, or if you play it, playing Ruination after the Yordles in Arms, and, you know, trying to win that way. This card, your opponent just floods the board, passes to their turn, they open up with Sneezy Bigeldust and attack, and you can't do anything. You can't, I mean, you can technically do things after they attack and buff, but you can't respond to this card. You can't play a Ruination, you can't play removal on units before they get buffed. They're getting buffed no matter what. Granted, the buff isn't as big, but, you know, things like Daring Poro, Flame Chompers, those are all created. Maybe put in some other things like Bandal Commandos to create Owl Cats as well. So yeah, I don't know. Very annoying card. Seems really strong in Bandal Go Wide. Basically Lulu decks at the moment. So very scary card. I'm going to give it a whole 5 stars. I might be overrating it a bit. But I think it's really, really strong. Really powerful if you know what you're doing. And again, like 3/3 elusive Poros are very strong. Might even be underrating this. Some people might think this is should even be higher rated, like OP tier 0 needs a nerf now. I don't think so. I think it's solidly strong and it breathes life back into Bandal Go Wide. Well, from 5 stars to this, the Paper Tree. Honestly, I kind of forgot this card existed and was released. The Paper Tree is a 2-mana landmark that says when an ally with an attachment attacks, grant that ally +1/+L. I don't think I need to talk about this too much. This card is trash. It's 2-mana do nothing landmark for an archetype that doesn't really want to be doing nothing on turn 2. Very weak effect. How many times you have to attack in before you even feel like you're happy that you played this card? You lose the tempo that you'd rather be playing things like Bandal Commandos, even Conchologists or other things on turn 2. So not a fan of this card. Really don't know how you why this is even a thing, what archetype it wants. Maybe in the future in a limited format, but for now in constructed, don't play this card. This card is bad, unplayable, garbage, not even a fun meme card. I give it a whole 0 stars. Don't play Paper Tree. Now our next region, that's it for Bandal City, we got Bilgewater. Bilgewater got some pretty cool stuff. A couple of solid cards, and one that's really, really strong. Ransom Riches is not the strong one. Ransom Riches is a 1-mana burst speed spell, manifest a follower you can afford. It's okay. It's pretty much only solid as filler, in my opinion, in Bandal City, Bilgewater Shellfolk decks, and even then, I'd rather play other cards, but it's an okay card to get off of things like Conchologist. But if you're looking for filler in a Bilgewater, Bandal City, Shellfolk deck, this is solid filler. Tasty Fae Folk, this is not it. So I'm going to give it 1 star. It's filler that's not that good. Riptide Sermon, on the other hand, 6-mana slow speed spell, deal 4 to a unit, spawn 3, deal 2 to the enemy nexus. Lots of stuff going on here. I love this card. I think this is the best card in that Bilgewater got this expansion. It's basically Tri-Beam, but Bilgewater style. It's more expensive than Tri-Beam, yes, but dealing 4 is going to kill a lot of things. It's not killing some more problematic stuff or bigger stuff like Ilawis or Bards, but it kills a lot of things. And the spawn 3 is really, really nice. The deal 2 to enemy nexus, that's okay. Like a little extra chip damage is fine. Like that's the cherry on top, the icing on the cake. That's just the little extra bit that whatever. But killing a unit and then summoning a unit, that's just Tri-Beam. Now, it's no Tri-Beam. Like, I love Tri-Beam and I love Riptide Sermon. This is not anywhere near the power level of Tri-Beam. But the nice thing is that you don't have to modify your deck and build your deck around it. You're just like, okay, cool, I'm playing like Ezreal TF. I'm playing Ilawi Lux. Let's just shove in 3 Riptide Sermons. Great. But yeah, I think it's a very powerful card. Getting some extra tentacles is nice. 4 damage is solid too. Bilgewater's not in... Bilgewater's removal isn't always the best. Like they have what, Tentacle Smash is pretty much their mid-game removal. So it's nice to get another chunk of mid-game removal. They have okay pings to like make it ring. So it's nice to have more removal in a region whose removal is not the greatest. All that considered, I'm going to give it 5 stars. Good removal for a region whose removal is a little weak. Kill thing plus developing the board at the same time is very powerful. And the ping on top is just really nice. It's got some synergy too, of course, with the spell champion. So, you know, Lux and Jace and stuff. So I like the card. Very big fan of this card. Now, Steam. One of Evelynn's followers. Steam is a 6-mana 6/5 with Scout. When I'm summon a random Husk. He is okay. The very definition of solid and just fine. Scout is a powerful keyword, and if you get a good Husk that Steam can eat, like Elusive or Spell Shield or Overwhelm or Challenger, he can go off. He's still 6 mana, and he doesn't do much when you summon him, though, is the problem. 6 mana, I don't know. I think maybe a year ago, a card like this alongside Evelynn would have been insanely powerful. The problem is, the difference between the game now and a year ago, the power level and the speed of the game is so much faster. I feel like if you're playing a 6 mana card or more expensive, it needs to do a lot. Like win the game, keep you from losing the game, give you insane amounts of value. Steam's not doing all of that or any of that. He might win the game with a little help because Scout's a powerful keyword, but that's it. Like he's okay as a top end in Evelynn deck, but I'd rather just find some other top end. But he's okay as top end, so I'm gonna give him 2 stars. But yeah, top end in a Husk deck is fine. And Swindle. I like this card. I'm a big fan of this card. I might be overrating this card. Swindle is a 2 mana burst speed spell. Manifest a non-champion card from the opponent's hand. Plunder, I cost 1 less. Let's get this out of the way really quick. I think people overrated this card when they first saw it because they think of pranks and stuff and they're like, wow, you can see your opponent's hand. Yes, you are going to see 3 non-champion cards in your opponent's hand. That in itself is very powerful, but I think people really overrate how good a hand reveal is. Hand reveal is not that great unless either the hand reveal is extremely cheap, like 0 mana, or it cycles, like replaces itself, or it's also hand reveal on top of hand disruption, like pranks are. Swindle's not disrupting your opponent's game plan at all. Sure, you get some knowledge, that's great, but that's not enough. Now, you do get the copy of one of those cards you saw, whichever one you chose, and if you plunder, this card costs 1 less. I've been calling this Bilgewater's time trick. This is no time trick, but it's like a similar-ish effect. It's a Bilgewater flavored time trick is basically it. Gets a little cheaper from the plunder. That's very Bilgewater-y. Stealing. It's not really stealing, but it's like kind of stealing cards, copying cards. That's very Bilgewater-y. I will say this though. I really, really like this card in Shellfolk. Here's the problem. Bilgewater Shellfolk, in my opinion, is not that great. I feel like if you want to play Shellfolk, you should be in Shurima right now. Sure, TF Nami with Shellfolk's kind of cute, but I'd rather not play Bandal City if I'm playing TF Nami, and I'd rather play Shadow Isles because Shadow Isles Tellstone with TF Nami is really powerful. So it's solid. It's a fine card in Shellfolk Bilgewater, and it's like a really bad time trick because it doesn't give you a card that's relevant to your strategy a lot of the time, but it's still a solid 2 stars in my opinion. Now, that's it for Bilgewater. What do we have next? We have Demacia. Demacia, they didn't get that much. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think they only got 1 card that's really solid. Allure is not it. Allure is a 2 mana focus speed spell. Summon a random husk and grant it +1/+0. Whatever. I feel like this is pretty much just meant for Evelynn decks. I don't really think you would want to play this in too many Demacia decks. The problem with this card, it's a solid card. The problem is it's not really worth a card slot in your deck. Like, it's a solid card to pull off of Conchologist, but actually putting in your deck, it's hard for this to, you know, get a whole card's worth of value. You might say like, oh, you play this and then you play Poppy. Cool. And then your opponent vengeances Poppy. You got 2 for 1. Unless, you know, you get lucky and you roll Spell Shield, but you can't rely on that. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this. I feel like, and even in the Evelynn decks, I'm not a big fan of this. I feel like it's just filler for Evelynn decks, so I would just not run it. It's okay filler though, so I'll give it a 1 star. Like, if you just need another card or 2 to fill out your Evelynn deck, go and put in Allure, I guess. This card is trash, I'm sorry. I know some people love this guy. I think he is garbage and unplayable. Lord Eldred Mage Seeker Leader. He is an 8 mana 8/8 with tough. Other allies in your Nexus have tough. Doesn't have elite, so no elite synergy copium. I don't know why, but I've seen some people saying that people are underrating this guy. I have no idea how you could be underrating this guy. He's an 8-mana card that doesn't do much when you summon him. Even Tiana, and Tiana's not good. Tiana's better. She at least lets you rally when you summon her. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this card. Like, I will say this though, he's a really great hit from Tri-Beam or from what? Timelines? Like turning your Ice Pillar into Lord Eldred. That's a great play. But actually playing this card in your deck, I don't think you should. I think the guy is really bad and should never be main decked in any deck. You might say, what if you want to ramp and cheat him out? I think there's better things to ramp to and cheat out, even in Demacia alone. 10-mana Cithria is something better to cheat out. Ramping, well, if you're ramping, you're probably playing Fljord and you're probably like a War Mother's Call. I'd rather play things like Tiana again, exactly. Or maybe even 6-mana Cithria feels better. Or Captain Aurica if you want to cheat stuff out. Granted, if you War Mother's Call out Aurica, she doesn't do anything. But still, like, I just don't like this guy. I don't think he does anything for any deck. It's a powerful ability, but he's just too expensive. 0 stars from me. And yes, I know people are going to say, what about Lissandra? Lissandra's 3 mana and does a lot more than just making your Nexus tough. And the one card that I think is actually good, Royal Decree. 3-mana focus speed spell. Give an ally +2/+2 and challenger this round, or summon an honored lord. I like this card because it just seems to have a lot of versatility, but it is a little clunky. Like, using it for Demacia tempo-y decks is nice to just remove an annoying card. So that's pretty sweet. You can also use it in Demacia TF Nami decks, just another 3-mana way to use 3 spell mana to bank another 3 spell mana on turn 3 for your Nami deck. So that's cool. So you can try something like Nami Lux Shellfolk. Sorry, not Nami Lux Shellfolk. Nami Lux, just Nami Lux stuff like Burblefish. So that's pretty cool, but it is a little clunky, and these rally Demacia midrange decks are a little tight on their spells and how many spells they can play. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's okay. It's a very solid card. Just okay card overall. Nothing too strong, but not weak at all. Now, for a region that, in my opinion, didn't do too well. Fljord. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Fljord only really got one thing that's nice, and it's not even that good. Cracking Ice is not it. Cracking Ice is a 1-mana burst speed spell. Grant an enemy Frostbite me at the next round start. Some people thought this card would Frostbite the enemy at the start of every round. I can see why you would think that, but it doesn't. It only Frostbites it for the next round, and that's it. This card is garbage. It's kind of like a LoR in Demacia. Fine, okay spell, but I wouldn't want to waste a card slot on this. If I were to play this card in any Fljord deck I'm building, I'd rather just play Brittle Steel or even Elixir of Iron. You could argue, well, you can use it to set up a big level 2 Ash turn. Yeah, but again, I'd rather just play Brittle Steels. I think Brittle Steel just is more flexible and does a very similar thing to this. So yeah. Not really sure what this card is trying to do, but I assume it's just meant to set up like your next turn with an Ash, and I feel like that's just not good enough. Just too low impact and not flexible enough. So 0 stars from me. Now this card, I've already seen some people forgetting this card even exists. Frozen in Fear. 4-mana slow speed spell, Frostbite an enemy, summon a Rime Fang pack, and grant it +1/+1 for each time you Frostbite an enemies this game. Basically, I just look at this as a unit you can counter, or your opponent can counter. I am not a fan of this card. Basically, how big do you want your Rime Fang to be before you want to play it? I'd say you probably want at least a 4/4. So how are you supposed to play this? Like, you combine it with Trifarian Glory Seekers? Do you wait until Ashe is leveled up? I just don't understand what deck wants this. Like, you're only playing this in an Ashe deck because, you know, you need to freeze things enough, and Ashe is pretty much the only deck that's going to freeze things a lot. Like, other Fljord decks do play 3 Sisters, but they play like 2 to 4 at maximum freezes, and that's not great. So yeah, I'm not a fan of this. I really just look at this as like a 4-mana unit that freezes when it enters the battlefield. I'd rather play Iceveil Archer, in all honesty. At least that goes through Spell Shield. And again, like I said, it can get countered, and it's honestly even a solid spell to counter. So, you know, you prevent the freeze and you prevent the unit from coming out if you counter it. So it's a solid spell to counter. So yeah, I don't know, like, it's whatever. Honestly, if it was just a 4-mana unit that was just like, I'm a 4-mana 1/1 that has a skill that says freeze an enemy unit and then gain +1/+1 for however many times you've frozen, it'd be a lot better because you'd at least get the unit even if they counter the skill. Granted, I guess that could go in Jhin decks. But yeah, I am not a fan of this card. I'm gonna give it 1 star. It can get big, and the freeze is okay. It's like a slow speed concussive palm, like, you know, stops an enemy and it does develop a unit, but I'm not a fan of it. Unlike concussive palm, they can still block with a frozen unit too. So not a big fan of this card, but maybe in the future Ashe will play this. And the one card that's actually kind of decent for Fljord, Wildclaw's Ferocity. 6 mana, focus speed spell, transform an allied follower into an Alpha Wildclaw. I'd honestly just rather play Alpha Wildclaw most of the time. Sure, you can be like, well, you can transform a spider or an Omen Hawk into a big unit and it's focus speed, so your opponent can't interact. It's a lot of mana, and I feel like the kind of decks that want this can just play Battle Fury, the 8 mana spell. So there are some cute things you can do, but I mean, like, you can arguably get a turn 3 Wildclaw by like playing a 1 mana attune unit, or I guess, yeah, like or just a unit that gives mana back, and then you Wildclaw's Ferocity it on turn 3, but that's not big. You know what you're begging to have happen? You're begging your opponent to just get a nice 2-for-1 and kill the unit with a Vengeance or something. So yeah, not a fan of this card, but it's okay in Overwhelm. It's a nice extra option for Overwhelm decks. For their finishers, that's not Battle Fury. So now they have options. So that's the nicest thing about it, is it gives Overwhelm decks extra late game options that's not called Battle Fury. So 2 stars for me. And now we head to Ionia. Ionia got some cool stuff. One card I really love, because it's not for an archetype I really love. It's not this. Kinku Student. 2 mana 3/1. When an ally gets barrier, give me barrier this round if I don't have it. Basically, this is Shen support. There's some cute things you can do where it's like, if a card in your hand gets barrier, she will get barrier. So, you know, key barrier. I think that's a card, the 2 mana, give an ally in your hand barrier and draw a card. That will actually give Kinku Student barrier. So that's kind of cute. But yeah, I mean, like, it's okay. It's really good in Shen decks. Outside, it's pretty much only meant for Shen decks. It helps you get on the board. It's just really annoying. Your typical barrier unit that you want. It's just solid. Like, the 1 health does hold it back, but if this thing had 1 more health, it would actually be really annoying. And probably honestly OP if it was a 3/2. So the fact that it's a 3/1 does keep it from being OP and strong, since, you know, it dies to things like Make It Rain, Pokestick, etc., etc. So I am going to give it 3 stars. Just very middle of the pack. Not too strong, but not weak at all. Just solid filler for a weaker archetype. Not even filler, really. Just a solid card for a weak archetype. And speaking of Shen support, Moral Support. 4 mana burst speed spell. Cost 2 less if you have supported an ally this game. Give an ally barrier this round. Okay. So you have to support to get the discount. If you're not supporting, this card is terrible. You're basically playing Spirit Refuge, but you're not getting lifesteal. That's terrible. The problem is, at the moment, Shen decks only have Shen as their only card that supports. You can play, I think, Young Witch. Young Witch isn't that great with the 1 health and with Make It Rain being very popular. You can try Lulu Shen, but I don't think Lulu Shen does too much. You can play War Chefs. War Chef survives pings, but it's nowhere near as good as, say, like the effect of Young Witch. So I feel like a big problem with this card is basically just activating it and getting the first support off to, you know, make this thing 2 mana. Now, when it is 2 mana, is it good? Yes. Prismatic Barrier is almost a playable card. 3 mana, just give an ally barrier this round. Prismatic Barrier for 2 mana is really good. That's what Moral Support becomes. The problem is, this is in Ionia. Ionia has so many good ways to protect units. Are you going to play this over Twin Discipline, Syncopations, Nopifies, etc., etc.? I'd say in general, no, unless you're a Barrier That Matters deck. Basically, you're a Shen deck. Anything that's not a Shen deck that can still activate this, I'd rather just play Syncopation or Nopify or another Twin if I can fit it in. But it's very powerful for Shen decks. 2 mana barrier is really, really strong. But the fact that you have to activate it first for it not to be really expensive does hold it back a lot. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. And my favorite card that Ionia got, Windswept Hillock. Also a favorite card for a lot of people. Yasuo Support card, basically. 5 mana landmark. When I'm summoned, draw a Yasuo and stun the strongest enemy. When you gain the attack token, stun the strongest enemy. Yasuo's boat, basically, which is a landmark, which is whatever. This card's crazy good. This card alone, in my opinion, has increased the power level of Yasuo immensely. Yasuo previously, before this card came out, was very, very, very borderline playable. And now that this card came out, I do think Yasuo is a solid, like a Yasuo Katarina deck, is a solid mid to low tier 2 deck. That gets even better in tournaments because you can ban decks that would just destroy Yasuo, like Noxus Piles. Ravenous Flock Piles. The great thing about it, though, is the second line, when you gain the attack token, stun the strongest enemy. So, you know, it combos well with Katarina and rallies in general. You play Katarina, you get the attack token because she rallies, and you stun another thing. So honestly, it's actually kind of like Katarina support, in fact, too. If you want to think about it, you play Katarina, something else gets stunned, and you get to rally some more and attack some more. So very, very powerful card. Pretty sweet curve too. Turn 4 Yasuo, turn 5 Hillock. Slows your opponents down too, even though it's only stunning when you gain the attack token, but it still slows your opponents down and helps you push in some damage and extra pressure, which is what it seems like they want Yasuo to do. Gonna give it a whole 4 stars. Only reason it's not getting the 5th star is it is a little slow. It is soft to landmark removal, like a lot of landmarks. And the whole only stunning an enemy when you gain the attack token does keep it from being busted. If it's stunned every single turn, it would be busted, but they probably didn't want to make Yasuo too strong. And our next region, we have Noxus. Noxus probably came out the worst out of any of the regions here. They got one card that's like fun for a meme. Captive Yeti is not the fun card. Captive Yeti is a 6 mana 5/5 Yeti with Overwhelm as reputation, and he costs 3, so it'll be a 3 mana 5/5 with Overwhelm. Whatever. Is it reputation support? I guess. I wouldn't play this in a reputation like LeBlanc Severe deck. Is it Yeti support? Like LeBlanc Yetis is kind of a very fringe deck that you don't see often, but it's still around. Sure, but I don't think they need this card. Is this setting up Nunu for the future? Like maybe Nunu is going to be a Fljord Noxus LeBlanc Nunu deck? Possibly. So that's what I feel like this card is doing. I feel like this is setting up a release for Nunu, and Nunu will probably play Captive Yeti. But for now, really, it's just not a good card. You would play it in Noxus Yetis, which is a LeBlanc deck, which honestly is not awful, but not great at all. Not even good, in my opinion. I'm going to give it 2 stars. Like, it's fine. Overwhelm is a really scary keyword, too, so it's okay. Now, Trifarian Training Pits. 4 mana landmark each round the first time an ally with 5+ power attacks rally. This is a very cute card, but I feel like here's the question. What deck wants this? I don't think Reputation actually wants this card. I feel like Reputation would rather just play the rally guy, the incisive tactician, the 8 mana 5/5 rally, and he costs 6 when Reputation is active. I feel like the kind of deck that wants to play this actually is not a deck that plays Reputation or cares about Reputation, just has some big units. So, you know, something like Hollowed, like Gwen Noxus Hollowed, you play this and you rally a bit. Maybe like a Viego Legion Deserter, the Legion Deserters rally, the Viegos rally. You can also play some of the Hollowed in that Viego Legion Deserter pile. You could be like Viego plus Gwen, Hollowed Legion Deserters, Trifarian Training Pits. A little slow is the main problem with this deck. Like, that's, I feel like, the biggest problem is this is a really slow card. You're basically taking turn 4 off to develop this card. You might say you can play it later. Yeah, but even then, it's like, I'd rather just play Shunpo a lot of the time, too. But yeah, like, I feel like if you have a good rally spell in your secondary region, like Golden Aegis, just play Golden Aegis instead. Like, I feel like this is... While I think I would rather play Shunpo, I do think this is a little bit better than Shunpo in certain decks. Basically like that Gwen, Viego, Legion Deserter deck I was talking about. Anyway, though, I give it a whole 3 stars. It's a very powerful effect, but it's a really slow card, so it is just okay, in my opinion. Now for our next region, we got, what, Piltover and Zaun. They actually got quite a few cards here. First off, we have Evil and Perfectionists. This card is annoying. 4 mana 4/4, play, pick a card in hand, create 4 exact copies of it in your deck, and reduce their cost by 1. Notice I said this card is annoying. Is it good? It's good in a couple of decks. Basically, this is a combo card, I feel. I don't think this is a control card. Don't put this in your Ezreal Karma copium piles. I've seen some people being like, oh, I'm going to copy Hexite Crystal or something. It's cool, whatever. I think the way you want to play this card is in some OTK infinite or at least near infinite combos. You know, something like Action Infinite or Infinite Time Bombs. Infinite Time Bombs isn't actually infinite, but just plays a lot of free, cheap Time Bombs. I think those are the kind of decks that want to play this card. It does have a solid stat line. 4/4 for 4 is fine. Like, not terrible, but it's not the greatest. So I think it's okay. It's solid. It's just a combo helper enabler. So it's just fine in those type of decks. 2 stars from me because it's not really helping those decks too much, but it's just okay filler. It gives you consistency, I feel, in combo decks. Instead of having to play like counterfeit copies, I guess. You play both, really. And our next card, Salvage Scrap. 2 mana burst speed spell. To play it, discard up to 2 cards, create that many followers from your regions that cost 1 more, and reduce their cost by 1. I still think Rummage is just better for 95% of decks. Any deck that would consider playing Salvage Scrap, I feel like you'd be better off playing Rummage. I do think for very, very low to the ground PNZ, like aggressive decks, Salvage Scrap is a little bit better than Rummage because it gives you more units for more gas. You might say, like, isn't drawing from the deck also going to give you more units? Arguably, yes. And the only reason I don't like this card too much is really just the RNG. If there was a way to control the RNG, sure, it'd be a little bit better. Also, it's kind of cute too in other decks that care about creating cards, you know, like Victor piles, Sneezy Biggle Dust piles. So yeah, those are kind of cute too, but yeah, it's just P&Z aggressive decks. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. I still think Rummage is just overall better a lot of the time, but it's a solid 2 mana just discard enabler kind of spell. Now, Scavenge Camo Cloaker. It's whatever. I know a lot of people really like this card. I'm not a big fan of this card, and I'll explain why. 3 mana burst speed spell. Grant an ally elusive and Nexus strike. Draw 1. One thing, we kind of have this card already. Support Maps does the exact same thing for 2 mana, except you don't get the draw 1 effect. So you have to play this on a unit. That unit then has to strike the Nexus. And just striking the Nexus is replacing the Camo Cloaker. And then you have to hope it strikes again on the Nexus to, you know, start going positive. If you're able to strike twice with a card that's been Camo Cloakered, you're probably in a really you're already in a really good spot already. Because that means your opponent has no removal or anything, like no Challenger, no Sharp Sight, no actual hard removal like Vengeance or anything. I will say this, it's kind of cute on Fizz. Like, this really makes Fizz even more annoying. You don't have to play a spell to give Fizz elusive. And then, you know, you do Fizz annoying things where you just play a spell whenever they try to kill Fizz to remove the spell. And this does give you more and more cards to keep trying to get more Fizz value. So, like, I don't know, Bandal City, P&Z, Shellfolk, and you play this as a one-of. Playing this on Victor is kind of cute. Like, Victor, Fizz, Bandal City, P&Z, Shellfolk. Play this on Fizz, play this on Victor. It's pretty sweet. Also a very powerful card to get from Shellfolk, of course, but I'm just not a big fan of it. I'd rather a lot of the time just run Ambush or Support Maps instead. So 1 star, there's some potential here, but a lot of the time I think Support Maps is just better. And Solitude is our last P&Z card. Another one of Evelynn's followers. Solitude is a 5 mana 4/4. When I'm summoned, summon a random husk. When you summon a 1-cost ally, granted a random keyword. It's fine filler for Evelynn decks. Outside of Evelynn decks, I'm not a big fan of it. Like, there's some funny memes you can do with this, but we're rating on competitiveness. So yeah, like, outside of Evelynn, I guess, like, you could play it in Professor Von Yip piles, Bilgewater, PNZ, 1-drop deck, whatever you want to call that deck. That deck is kind of garbage, but, you know, it's a fun meme, and, you know, in the future it might be good. Daring Poros are technically 1 mana units, so you can give another keyword to them. That's kind of cute. But yeah, I don't know, just a little too slow, and the randomness and lack of consistency does hurt it a lot, so I'm going to only give it 1 star. And our next region, Shadow Isles. Shadow Isles also got a new champion and a new keyword, Hollowed. Hollowed basically says the leftmost attacking unit gets X amount plus X plus O, where X is equal to however the number of Hollowed units that you control died. So Boisterous Host is a 1 mana 2/1 with Hollowed. He is very good. Very solid. Just 1 mana 2/1 with upside is a solid card. You're going to play him in your Hollowed decks to start increasing the Hollowed counter. I'm going to give him a whole 3 stars. Very middle of the pack. Very good. Just a solid card to put in anything with Hollowed that you care about. Gaining more Hollowed. Nothing too strong here. Nothing crazy, but not a bad card. Now, Conductor of the Mist. 3 mana 4/2 with Hollowed. Last breath, create a Ghastly Band in hand. Ghastly Band is a 1 mana 2/1 ephemeral with Hollowed. So it's like 2 Hollowed for 1. It's a fearsome blocker. I like the card. I just wish it had 1 more health. I wish this card was a 3/3 instead of a 4/2. Obviously, it's meant for more beatdown style, but if it was a 3/3 or even a 2/4, We could maybe try some more control-y hollowed stuff. But I still like it in control decks. Thrash Soul, Ghastly Band is a solid discard fodder card to something like Spacey Sketcher. The Ghastly Band also is just a solid defensive unit as well. Big fan of the card. I like Conductor of the Mist a lot. I'm probably overrate the guy, but I really like him. I'm going to give him 2 stars, though. I've been playing him. The more and more I play him, the more and more I'm like, okay, 2 health is kind of a liability for a 3-drop, though, so only going to give him 2 stars. I still really like the guy, though. Eternal Dancers. Now, this card, it's an interesting one. 6 mana, 3/6 hollowed. Attack, revive an attacking ephemeral copy of the strongest dead ally other than Eternal Dancers with my power or less. This is not limited to once a turn, like Callista is, I believe. So you do this, you rally somehow, and then you attack again. So, you know, you play, you bring back Ruined Reckoner. You use Midnight Raid to Midnight Raid with Eternal Dancers, bring back another Ruined Reckoner. Infinite loop there. Brings back Katarina. Also infinite loop there. Here's the problem. While those are infinite combos, they're very, very easy to break, take up a lot of setup, and are super easy to interact with. Stuns, kill spells, silences, obliterating the unit that they would bring back to is all very, very strong. So, while I like this in terms of its combo potential, it just doesn't seem that great. Also, on the other hand, you can use it for more of a value kind of thing, using it to bring back things like Rekindler or Anivia's. That's kind of cute. Obviously, you would use it to, you would put it on the left side to get the hollowed buff, bring back a bigger unit. Bring back things like Tibalt is cute too. That's a little win more though, but that's pretty cute. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff here, Mimi stuff here, but in terms of competitiveness, it just feels a little too slow, a little too clunky. But I do think there is some potential here with control decks once the meta starts to settle and we can actually try to build control decks. So I'm going to give it 2 whole stars. Now the draw spell. Formal Invitation. I don't like this card. 3 mana burst speed spell. Create copies in hand of 2 allied followers that have died this game. I really, really wanted to like this card. 3 mana, draw 2 is how I looked at this at first. The problem with it is 2 things. 1, super heavy on the RNG. Now you might say like, okay, just don't play units you don't care about or you always want to get back. I'm like, okay, but here's the other problem. You're in Shadow Isles. Vile Feast is in Shadow Isles, and most Shadow Isle decks that are not super aggressive want to play Vile Feast. Getting a Spiderling is a terrible thing to grab off a Formal Invitation. So this is a super RNG card if you're playing like, if you're trying to get things like, I don't know, Solari Priestess or Rekindlers, and you're also playing Vile Feast. You might get Rekindlers, you might get Solari Priestess, you might get just some value cards, or you might get a Spiderling. So I'd rather just play Glimpse, in all honesty. Sure, Glimpse does need something to die, but it's not that hard to actually get Glimpse to pop off. I'm gonna give it 1 star though. I do think it has a little bit of potential with correct deck building, and you try to mitigate the RNG with good deck building, but Vile Feast is just such a big card. It's such a strong card. It feels bad not to play Vile Feast, and Vile Feast, Formal Invitation bringing back the Spider from Vile Feast just feels really bad. Ghostly Paramore. 4 mana, 3/3 Lifesteal Hollowed. Not much to talk about with this guy. He's whatever. He's a Lifesteal unit, and Lifesteal is a super rare keyword. The problem is, while Lifesteal is a great keyword, he's in Shadow Isles, and Shadow Isles has so much life gain. Withering Whales, Ishtali Sentinels if you want to play that one, Grasp, Vile Feast, the other drain cards, and well, like Unending Horror. I think that's a Nightfall ping. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this guy. Like, if you just need a lifesteal unit, sure, I guess this is okay. But yeah, like, I'd rather just play something like Doom Beast even. One is a lifesteal unit, so it's a little weak to just removal. 3 health on a 4-drop's just kind of low. You know, Noxian Fervoring the blocker as well for aggro decks is very strong. I honestly think this card is weaker than Fangs. That's how mediocre I think this card is. It's just whatever. Like, if this was in some other region, like, sure, I'd love this card, but in Shadow Wilds, I feel like there's better things if you want to gain life. Still, though, it can give you a big chunk of life all at once thanks to Hollowed, so I'm going to give it 2 stars. I don't know. If it was like a 2-4, I'd be much, much more high up on this. Even a 0-4, I'd be much higher up on this, but at, I don't know, maybe a 1-4. 0-4 seems a little weak. But yeah, 3 health on a 4-drops, not that great. And now for our champion. Speaking of life gain, she also gives you some life gain too, and her life gain is actually really good. We have Gwen. 4 mana 3 for quick attack Hollowed. Okay. Solid keywords. Solid solid stat line. When Gwen attacks, she drains 2 from the enemy nexus, so she's got a Doom Beast whenever she attacks. Also, when another ally gains power from Hollowed, she also gets it. Okay, so that's pretty nice. To level up, Gwen has to deal 10 damage. This does include the 2 damage she is draining. That does count towards the level up. It's a very easy level up, but that's because her level up doesn't really change much. When she levels up, she does exactly the same thing she was doing before. She gets +1/+1 as well, like most champions. But now she drains 1 for every 2 power she has instead of just draining 2 all the time, which is kind of funny because when she levels up, you can actually fizzle her ability by like freezing her or just killing her. And her champion spell is Thread the Needle. I really like the card. 3 mana, fast speed spell, kill an ally to deal damage equal to its power to an enemy. Basically an atrocity that can't go face. I really like it. Little clunky, but solid as a champ spell. I like Gwen. I think Gwen is well designed. She's very versatile. The drain's really nice. Still wish she was a little more control oriented, but you know, she's okay. Quick attack lets her attack in really easily. If you can get like 1 or 2 Hollowed buffs as well from playing things like the Boisterous Host or Conductor or something else, then she really attacks in well thanks to quick attack. Got to be careful of things like Hush and more commonly Quicksand. But the drain is nice too, and gaining life is really nice. So yeah, I like Gwen. I think she is a solid champion. I'm going to give her 4 stars. She doesn't get that 5th star from me because she just doesn't feel OP. Like, nothing about her feels really, really OP. I've seen some people complain about the drain. I feel like they're just playing bad aggro decks, in all honesty. But yeah, like, solid, just solid card. Like, a little bit of life, a little bit of solid champ spell, decent beatdown. Goes into control, goes into aggro, goes into mid-range. Very versatile too. Like, Gwen go hard, Gwen Hollowed with Overwhelm and Elusive. I've seen Gwen Elise Spider aggro, where Gwen's basically just Doom Beast as well, and she's literally the only Hollowed unit in the deck. That's a really annoying deck, by the way. But yeah, I think she is a very powerful card. And we have Hate Spike. Hate Spike is a 2 mana fast speed spell. Kill an ally to deal 2 to a random, or 2 to a unit, summon a random husk. Just another Evelynn card. I think this card is mediocre for a non-Evelynn deck, and even in the Evelynn deck, I feel like you're probably, hopefully your secondary region has better removal than this. But if you need removal, it's fine. You will usually have something to kill thanks to the husks. Thanks to being fast speed as well, you can use it in response to removal, so that's nice. So it is just fine if you just are really in need of removal in an Evelynn deck, so it's going to get 2 stars from me. 2 damage is solid. And Phantom Butler, not much to talk about with this guy, just another hollowed unit, 2 mana 3/1 Fearsome Hollowed. He is okay. He can block Fearsome. The Fearsome tag lets him attack in really well. 1 health is really, really fragile for a 2-drop though. But you do kind of want him to die to give you some hollowed buffs, but you'd rather he trades with something when he dies instead of just dying to like a ping, like Vile Feast or Make It Rain. Gonna give him 3 stars. He is just solidly fine. Like, you're gonna play him in your hollowed matters decks and he's gonna do his job. He comes down, helps you curve out, helps you increase your hollowed count, but that's it. Okay, now this card, Strike Up the Band. 3 mana slow speed spells, summon 2 ghastly bands. It really does increase your hollowed count quickly, and it works really well defensively if your opponent gives you a chance to summon this before they attack, but I don't know. I hate these kind of cards where it's like, I'm just summoning ephemerals. I don't know. It's my value brain trying to take over and being like, how do I get value from this? How do I get a card's worth of value from this? Because I feel like a lot of the time, your opponent's just going to let through the damage and not care if you're using it offensively. But it is good defensively, but offensively, it's just whatever. Sure, you might say, like, you buff one of them with Hollowed. Whatever. It's like, I guess you can look at it like it's a decimate, kind of, then, but not really. So, I don't know. It's fine. I think it's solid. It helps increase your hollowed count quickly, and I'm going to give it 3 stars because it does help increase your hollowed count quickly, and some Gwen decks really want to increase their hollowed count quickly. So I do like it for those kind of decks. And we have a couple more Evelynn cards. We have Sultan really quick. Pretty much just like a bread and butter kind of card here for... what's it called? Evelynn, that's it. I had to think about the champion. Just solid, just gives you it's your 2-drop. He comes down, he's like, all right, here you go. I'm just here for... You're just using me to get on the board quickly, and I'm going to give you a husk for your next unit, and he is fine. 1/3/4/2 is a decent defensive keyword. So 3 stars, just another, like, he's just role fulfilling, helps you get on the board early, gives you the husk early, so just 3 stars, not much to talk about with him. And we got Thread the Needle here itself. We already talked about it a little bit with Gwen. It's an okay card. It is, I like it, but Shadow Isles already has a solid amount of removal. If this was in a different region, it'd be even better, but Shadow Isles does have things that want to die, so there is that as well, but I don't know. I feel like it can be really good in the right deck. I'm probably overrating this card in all honesty. I'm going to give it a whole 2 stars. It probably is only worth 1 star. Because you are, in theory, 2 for 1ing yourself with removal, but, you know, Noxus does that all the time with things like Ravenous Flock and Disintegrate, so... I don't know, I kind of like it. Sure, you can argue, well, you can stop it. Your opponent can stop it by killing whatever you're trying to kill. True, I guess. But I think the strength of this is going to kind of be like single combat, where you block something, and then whatever you're blocking, or the unit that's doing the blocking, is sacked to Thread a Needle to kill another thing that's attacking. So, phantom block and then kill another unit. Kind of like what you like to do with single combat a lot. And our last card for Shadow Isles, Vora. Just another filler card, curve filler card for Evelynn. 3 mana, 3/2, summon a random husk. Nothing crazy here, right? Okay stat line. If she eats the husk from Sultan, she's like a 3/3, which is solid, and then she summons a husk, so you're not really hurting Evelynn too. Like, curves well into Evelynn. You play Vora on 3. Like, yeah, you play Vora on 3, then Evelynn on 4, so that's kind of nice. Nothing too exciting though, like nothing broken. I'm gonna give her 2 stars. 2 health is a little low. I kind of wish she was like a 2/3. Should be a 2/4 after she eats a husk. But yeah, just plain and boring. Nothing crazy. Just fine for curve filler for your Evelynn decks. And now for the region that's probably gotten some of the best stuff in this set, Shurima. Oh, Shurima, you got a lot of things here. First off, Belvethi Elder. 2 mana 3/1, evolve Spell Shield. Evolve is the other keyword in this set. Evolve says basically once you've played 6 keywords, 6 different keywords, your evolve units have +2/+2. It's basically deep, but for keywords. Belvethi Elder is pretty good. You use her. She's got Spell Shield, which is nice. So you're gonna use her to just give Spell Shield to other units. She can block Fearsome, which is great too. So that's nice. So just overall really good. Little fragile, so she does have a hard time attacking in, and she doesn't block that well because, you know, 1 health. But you're mostly just playing her to give your future units Spell Shield by copying the keyword. Now, Domination. Probably the best of the Evelynn followers. Domination is a 3 mana 2/1. When I'm summoned, summon a random husk. When you summon a 1-cost ally, grant a +1/+0. Okay, cool. It's solid for Evelynn decks, whatever. Azir Aurelia loves this card. Like, this card in Azir Aurelia is so annoying. You might say, well, she has 1 health. Just ping her. Yes. But they have a lot of things you want to play. The students is one thing. The I can't even remember the name. The 1-mana 1/1 student. They sometimes play the 1-mana 1/1 elusive green glade duo is another thing you want to ping. You're eventually going to run out of pings. And here's the other thing. That husk curves really well into not Azir, Aurelia. The husk is going to give whatever eats the husk +1/+1 and the keyword. Aurelia will then be a 4/3 with potentially a really annoying keyword. Like Aurelia with Challenger, Elusive, that's terrifying. And not to mention, you know, Blades and Sand Soldiers are 1-cost allies, so they'll get buffed by this. So basically, she's kind of like another Azir, a leveled up Azir. So yeah, very, very powerful card. Really nuts in Azir Aurelia. Kind of just actually breathe life back into Azir Aurelia alongside the Aurelia buff. So 4 whole stars for me. Really, really powerful in Aurelia, or Azir Aurelia. Really powerful in Evelynn decks. Misses out on that 1 star because of the fragility of this card and the randomness of husks. But even then, it's still really, really powerful. And Glory's Call. I like this card, but I do think it's a little trash. 6 mana burst speed spell, costs 2 less for each different Ascendant ally you've played this game. Manifest a card from the Emperor's deck with cost 9 or less. Sundisk doesn't really care about this card. This is not really helping Sundisk achieve its goal, if that makes sense. But outside of, like, you might say, like, well, if Sundisk isn't playing it, who is? Well, you can play the Ascended outside of Sundisk. So what's a card that really, really likes Manifest? Shellfolk. Shurima Shellfolk is also probably arguably the best, in my opinion, the best region and the best Shellfolk deck in general. The problem is, this is giving you more late game value, which is also not really a thing that Shurima Shellfolk wants. So, I don't know. I like it, but it doesn't really help Sundisk, and it is a little RNG, so you might say, like, I will use it in my Shellfolk Shurima deck to get removal. Sometimes you just might not see removal. But yeah, I like it in that deck as a 1 of or a 2 of even, but I wouldn't play this in Sundisk. I'm going to give it 1 star. There's a little potential outside of Sundisk decks, but I don't like it in Sundisk, and those decks that do like it don't really need it. They have other options for extra late game than this. Now, Hive Herald. Hive Herald's interesting. Hive Herald is a 6 mana 3/3 with Evolve. Play, grant a unit, and meet each other's positive keywords. So you can use it to give evolve to something else, I believe. And you probably want to use her to copy a really good keyword. So, you know, something like scouts, challengers, spell shield, etc., etc. So, I don't know. I like the card. I think it's fine and strong. The problem is the kind of deck that wants this doesn't need it, which is an evolved deck, a Kai'Sa deck. And Kai'Sa already has late game in the form of its 8-drop, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So I'm going to give it 1 star. Like, while it's powerful and its ability is strong, I feel like you just have better options for a similar effect. And we've already mentioned it enough, but let's talk about Kai'Sa. The strongest of the new champs in my opinion. Kai'Sa is a 5-mana 4/4 quick attack evolved, so she'll become a 6/6 when she evolves. Because of that, she doesn't get any stats when she levels up though. When I'm summoned or round start, if you have the attack token, create a second skin in hand, level up, you've evolved. Second skin is a 0-mana fleeting focus speed spell. Grant allied Kai'Sas everywhere another ally's positive keywords. You can cast this spell even if the Kai'Sa that created this card was killed. I've seen some people not realizing that, and they've been thinking it's like Victor, where, you know, you can't cast Victor's spell if the initial Victor died. You can still cast second skin targeting like a spell shield unit, so your second Kai'Sa has spell shield when you drop her. It's actually kind of important, and I think by knowing that and thinking about that, you can increase your win rate with Kai'Sa decks by like a percent point or 2. So, you know, you just play Kai'Sa, you evolve her, you second skin a elusive, you second skin a overwhelm, a spell shield, whatever. What's leveled up Kai'Sa do? Same thing, except now whenever she attacks, deal 1 for each positive keyword I have to enemies or the enemy nexus lowest health first. So it pings everything working from the bottom to the top health wise, and then it starts over again and does the whole ping up the ladder until you run out of pings. Okay, that's nuts. You wipe some boards with this is all I'm saying. Oh, and her champ spell is Supercharge, and Supercharge is busted. 3 mana, grant an ally Overwhelm and Spell Shield. Permanent buff, you play Kai'Sa, you then play Supercharge on another unit that has a strong keyword like a Scout or something, and then you second skin the Supercharged unit, so then your Kai'Sa has Spell Shield, Overwhelm, and whatever keyword the unit already had. Nuts. Really, really nuts. And the reason it's nuts is it's 3 mana. And you might say, like, how is it so bad if it's 3 mana? You can cast it with only spell mana, and being able to cast a spell with only spell mana is insanely powerful, in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people forget this. Like, we've had cards that used to be really powerful and are still really powerful that used to only need spell mana to cast. In other words, they were 3 mana. Deny, Relentless Pursuit, etc., etc. And you might say, like, why is that so strong? Why is the strength of a card being able to be casted with only spell mana good? You don't have to ruin your curve. We'll take Kai'Sa. You can slam a Kai'Sa on 5 and then still supercharge her if you banked spell mana. Compare this to, say, like, Bastion. Bastion is 4 mana. You'd have to, like, wait till turn 6 to play Kai'Sa if you want to Bastion your Kai'Sa. Which, you know, why do that when you could play Supercharge? And then I know the argument is, well, you can use Bastion defensively. Yeah, but Supercharge is really strong. But yeah, like the game plan is you play like a Scout unit, you then like Overwhelm Spell Shield, you supercharge the Scout unit, then you copy Scout, Overwhelm, and Spell Shield on the Kai'Sa, you Scout attack, since she has quick attack too, and she's probably a 6/6 because, you know, she'll evolve. That's really hard to block defensively, especially because of all the pings, because she's going to have a lot of keywords from that. So, you know, Valor. Valor has Scout. Valor has Challenger. Valor likes Overwhelm and Spell Shield. So, yeah, I don't know. Like, this is really strong. I think Kai'Sa is... I don't think she's a tier 0, like, unbeatable champion, but I think she's definitely a tier 1 champion, and there is definitely a tier 1 Kai'Sa deck out there. Maybe even multiple. She definitely just feels like Pantheon, but less RNG. Like, I just look at this card, I look at Kai'Sa and her decks, and I'm just like, this is just Pantheon again. But this time, instead of having to hope you get good RNG, you just curate what keywords you want with Kai'Sa. So I'm going to give her a whole 5 stars. Like, everything about her is great. Great keywords already. Great champ spell. Insanely easy and powerful level up. And a second skin is really nuts at 0 mana and focus speed. So yeah, I don't know, like really, really powerful everywhere. Nothing like bad or weak about her, in my opinion. Now, Rite of Passage, a non-keyword related card. Okay, Rite of Passage. 2 mana focus speed spell, manifest an allied landmark that has been destroyed this game, and summon it. This card, I think, is really strong, and I think this card should be 3 mana. They don't like to nerf cards they make or new cards right away. So I feel like this card is actually going to get some other cards nerfed because it's going to push some decks into a higher power level, like Zillion cards or Zillion decks, Blighted Ravine decks. But yeah, like copying and summoning another Blighted Ravine, copying and summoning another Time Bombs, Preservariums. This card's really powerful, very versatile. Thanks to the manifest, you're always almost going to hit exactly what you want because you usually don't play like more than 3 landmarks in one deck anyway. So yeah, very, very scary card. Really scared for some cards in some decks because of this card, because I think it should definitely be 3 mana. I'm going to give it a whole 5 spells. Actually, like, really scary, makes Zillion really scary. If you see a Zillion and a Time Bomb's already popped, you gotta really be careful, because Rite of Passage could just level up Zillion right away, and a level up Zillion can be game winning. And Supercharge, we don't need to talk too much about this. We already talked about it with Kai'Sa. You pretty much know exactly why I think this card is really strong. As a non-champ spell, the non-champ spell version of it, I still think it's really strong. I still think like a lot of decks will play 2 supercharges in their decks. Viego decks, Kai'Sa decks as well will also just want to play supercharge. It just feels so strong. Papercraft Dragon decks, just insane good card here. I feel like it honestly feels like it's taken the spot of Absolver in a lot of decks, which I'm not even sure if that should be accurate, but it's happening. Like, I'm not sure if it should be, but it is happening. So gonna give it 5 whole stars. I really think this card should be 4 mana. I think at 3 mana it should not be focus speed, but you know, it is what it is for now. And Void Abomination. This is the 8 mana card that is the finisher alongside Kai'Sa. 8 mana, 5/4 evolve. When I'm summoned, grant me all positive keywords allies have had this game. When I see an ally with a new positive keyword, grant it to me. So this thing comes down on turn 8, and it has like spell shields, quick attacks, overwhelms, challengers, life steals, toughs, etc., etc. It has a lot of things. It's basically Arsenal, but you don't have to hope for good keywords like with Arsenal. When you play Arsenal on 8, you probably have like 5 to 6 landmarks destroyed, and you're like, okay, I hope I hit Spell Shield. You slam Void Abomination, and you're like, yeah, I hit Spell Shield because I played Supercharge earlier. But yeah, this along with Kai'Sa is a very annoying card. I feel like we've hit a critical mass of Spell Shield units now. Really, really annoying card. I think running 3 is a little too many. I do think its weakness is that it is 8 mana, so it can break up your hand. That's pretty much the only weakness, is that it is 8 mana. And because of that, I'm only going to give it 4 stars. I feel like cards that are this expensive just have a hard time being 5 stars because, again, you can just draw really poorly and it can just break up your hand, and you're like, well, I have these cards that are really expensive, but it's turn 2 and I lose the game because I drew them. And that's why I think it should only be a 2 of, because by the time of by turn 8, you should probably have drawn at least 1 of them if you're playing only 2. So yeah, only play 2 of these. I know some people like to play 3, but I think 2 is the correct number. And Void Blaster. Well, I forgot to include the non-star version, but here you go. You get to see Void Blaster with stars. Not much to talk about with him anyway. He's just a 1-star guy. Not much to talk about him though, because like he's a 4/4, or she's a 4/4, sorry, with Overwhelm and Evolve. Here's the problem. I feel like these Evolve cards that you play in your Kai'Sa deck, you want to be playing keywords that Kai'Sa or your deck just doesn't have access to easily. Something like Spell Shield from Belvethi Elder. Void Blaster, Overwhelm's cool and all, but Spell Shield gives you Overwhelm easily. You might say, like, isn't Belvethi Elder gives Spell Shield, which Supercharge gives as well? Yes, but she's a 2-drop, and she helps smooth out your curve and keep you from losing to aggro. Void Blaster's Overwhelm is fine and strong, but again, you get it from Supercharge, and it's not really helping you against more aggressive decks. A 6/6 with Overwhelm is fine, and it might have some potential in non-evolved decks. It's just a 4-mana 4/4 Overwhelm, but it's a whatever card. So yeah, 1 star from me only. And Void Seeker, this is just a filler card for your Kai'Sa decks. It's fine, like nothing special here, just 1 star. Like if you just need removal, I'd play it, but I'd rather just go more with a combo style and just stack a lot of keywords and play any removal at all, or hopefully your secondary region has removal like Demacia. And then our last card is Voidling, 1 mana 1/1. While in hand, I have a random keyword that changes each round. When I'm summoned, grant me this keyword. Also has Evolve. The card itself is kind of just meh. You're really just playing this to help hit Evolve quickly. That's it. That's all you're playing this card. It's just basically, the way to look at this card is a 1 mana 1/1 that turns into a 3/3 by turn 5 or 6. And you really just want to use this to help you hit Evolve on turn 5 or turn 6 whenever you're attacking with Kai'Sa. So it's okay, it does a job and it does it well, but it is a little weak. It doesn't really do much against aggro decks, so I'm only going to give it 2 stars. And our last region, a region that really didn't get much, Targon. Targon didn't get much. He got 3 cards, 2 of which, in my opinion, are garbage, unplayable cards. Mikhail's Blessing is not one of those garbage cards. Mikhail's Blessing is the one card that's actually solid. 3 mana burst speed spell, grants an ally +1/+2, and remove all negative keywords from it. Pretty cool. Kind of like a cleanse. The buff is permanent, so that's nice. You can use it in things like Soraka Tom, because, you know, it's a health buff. You can use it to remove ephemeral, so things like Spectral Matron, bringing out units, Darkwater Scourge, removing ephemeral from that is pretty cute. Can remove stuns as well. Silences, I believe it removes as well, so that's pretty nice. I don't know. I just think it's like the kind of decks that would play this card are just not consistent enough, or they're too slow and clunky. So yeah, I just think the decks it likes are just a little too weak, but it is a very powerful effect. So I'm going to give it 2 stars. Now this card. This card is trash. I don't know what to talk about with this card. 5 mana, 4/6, Solari Stellacorn. Daybreak, heal all allies by 3. If it went and healed Nexus, it'd be a little bit better. Before you say, what about with the Soraka deck? Don't you want to play this in a Soraka deck? Soraka decks aren't weak because of this. Soraka decks are weak because of 2 reasons. One, landmark removal, while not the greatest, is you only really need 1 landmark removal because they can't really protect Star Springs, and if you kill the first Star Springs, the second one has to start from 0 again. Number 2, they don't really have a good alternate winning con beside the Star Spring. Solari Stellacorn is not really fixing either of those problems for Soraka decks. You might say, like, oh, combine it with that 4 mana 3/4 that says when you heal something, it gets elusive. And that's a really slow, really inconsistent combo. But yeah, like, Soraka decks heal well enough, so Soraka doesn't care about this. What about Daybreak? It says Daybreak, maybe Leona cares about this. No. Daybreak doesn't care about this. Like, in all honesty, this is bad for Daybreak. In fact, it's bad because it kind of dilutes the Ravun pool, and the Ravun pool is actually kind of weak now because of the nerfs to Zenith Blade. Zenith Blade's Overwhelm is only temporary now, so that's actually kind of a nerf too. So yeah, between Solari Stellacorn and Zenith Blade, Ravun's Daybreak pool is not looking too good. So yeah, not even a fun meme. I think the card is trash. I really think it should have healed Nexus, but for some reason they're really scared of giving healing to Targon. Good healing to Targon. So 0 stars from me. And our last card of the expansion, Starhound Pack. We're ending this video with a trash card, sorry. Starhound Pack is a 4-mana 2/5 faded. My faded buffs are granted to allied Starhound Packs everywhere. I feel like if you're trying to clone cards, which is what this card wants you to do, you'd be better off cloning things like action spells, time bombs, etc., etc. Like, I don't know. So here's the problem. Big stats without keywords, and yes, I know fade is a keyword, but like a combat-oriented keyword, don't really do much. Like, no lifesteal, no tough, no fearsome, no challenger, no scout, etc., etc. Those kind of keywords. So yeah, it's slow. You gotta warp your deck and probably want to make your deck based around cloning, which seems kind of bad for Targon. So that's like what, Targon PNZ? Why would I not just play Winding Light? I don't know. So yeah, not a fan of this card. Definitely feels like it's meant to be a meme, but it's honestly not even that exciting of a meme. So I'm gonna give it 0 stars. Anyway, that is all. Those are all the new cards from the new set, Forces from Beyond. Overall, it's an okay set. Like, nothing crazy, I'd say. Like, I'm not the craziest about this set because not many control things. If I were to give the whole set a rating on like a 10-star or 10-point scale, I'd probably say it's like a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10. Gwen is cool. Like, the design of Gwen is cool. Evelynn feels a little weak, and Kaisa is busted, and Supercharge is way too cheap. Anyway, though, like I said, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope you guys probably learned something from this video. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on my ratings. Maybe there's something you just disagree with or think I'm wrong about. I'd love to hear what cards you think I'm just wrong about and why you think I'm wrong. And if you guys just enjoyed the video in general, I'd love it if you could leave a like or a comment down below in the comments. And if you guys want to keep up with the Legends of Runeterra content, you can always go and subscribe to the channel as well. And if you want to watch me play some Legends of Runeterra, you can go and check me out over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zeniton, where I stream pretty much every single day. Been playing a lot too as well because of the new set. Anyway, though, with that all said and done, thank you all again once more for watching this video, and talk to you guys in the next one. Bye.